Hello, guys, and welcome to the first episode of the Privett podcast. My name is James McIntosh, and today we have got an absolute treat for you because I'm joined by Gosport royalty. He's our all-time top goal scorer, and he's just an overall legend, really, because I'm joined by none other than Justin Bennett. Justin, welcome to the podcast. You looking forward to the night?
I'm indeed. Yeah, we've been trying to get this in for a little while, haven't we? And
Yeah.
it's nice that we've aligned our diaries and our timescales, and looking forward to it.
Well, Justin, I think we should just crack into it, really, because
Yeah.
with this interview, we're going to really talk about your career. So, can you just tell us a bit about how you really got into football and really your idols growing up?
Yeah. Well, my dad played football, so I was, grew up around it. It was on TV all the time. I was going off watching him. So, um, growing up, that's all I wanted to do. It's all I was interested in doing. As soon as I finished school, it was out playing football. I never really did the usual sort of academy stuff. I was just sort of kicking around with my mates, always doing pretty well, and had sort of club sniffing around. But yeah, I just wanted to play in the same team as my friends. So it wasn't until we moved down this area, because my dad was in the army, that my dad said, "Oh, maybe you should start taking it a bit seriously." So he kind of forced the issue. And yeah, I started playing for Salisbury, which is sort of local to where we were, but only in the reserves. And then, yeah, just scored a few goals and got noticed here and there, and then just progressed my way up. But growing up, I mean, a bit older than you, but Gary Lineker. I was a Liverpool fan, so Ian Rush, Robbie Fowler, even Michael Owen. They were all players that I watched and wanted to try and sort of replicate when I played.
Yeah, because I was reading a bit about that because I think you did an interview and you were mentioning you were a Liverpool fan. And I think I read somewhere that your favourite player was Steven Gerrard, if I'm correct. But
Yeah.
obviously,
So more recently,
also,
yeah, Steven Gerrard. Yeah. If I had to pick my favorite player of all time, yeah, it'd be Steven Gerrard.
really, wow, because obviously he's a midfielder as well and you're a striker. So was
Yeah.
the plan originally to like go midfield?
So I started out as a left winger as a youngster. I always loved scoring goals, and so I wanted to be out front. But kind of, I think it was a position nobody wanted to play, and I just got shoved there, and did that until I was probably 15, 16, and then sort of converted to full on striker. But no, I love Steve Gerrard just because of what he brought to any team he played in. So whether it's Liverpool or England, he just brought the best out of people around him, and he was a leader, and he could score goals, like incredible goals. So I used to love watching him play.
Well, I've got to say, a bit like Steven Gerrard, you had a brilliant like start of your career because I think after Salisbury you joined a team called Andover. And can
Yeah.
you just tell me a bit about Andover, like joining them? Because I think originally you joined them to get more game time. Is that correct?
So well, kind of. So when I was at Salisbury, I was only in the reserves. Towards the back end of that season, I was kind of sort of being talked about to play in the first team. But at the end of that season, Salisbury actually got rid of their reserve team. So
Oh,
a lot of
wow.
my friends said, "Well, Andover are looking for players, so should we go over there?" So we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then I remember that group of friends. We went out on a Friday night, and the first pre-season training session was on a Saturday morning, and we all turned up
Oh,
stupidly hungover. Um, had a good session, and then the manager said, "Yeah, we'll take a look at you." So so played through preseason. I remember I scored in every preseason friendly. And then they called me in and they said, "Oh, we wanna put you on a contract. Would you be interested?" And obviously, for a young lad, I was like, I'd only ever really paid to play football, so they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you, I think it was like 30 quid a week to play football." And I was like, "Yes, give me the paperwork, sign." So yeah, signed, and then I think my first season I scored over 50 goals, and just carried on from there really.
yeah, because I was going to say, how old were you at the time as well? Because this was men's
Um,
football as well.
I'd have been 19, 20.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because
So
19, how did you really adapt to that league? Because it was men's football straight away you got into, wasn't it?
yeah, so I kind of So when I was saying earlier, when I was just kicking about my mates, I kind of did that till 16, and then I didn't really play football, like play for anyone from there. So it wasn't until I moved, like I said, to this area, and then so there was 2 years where I didn't really play at all. So I went straight from kids football into men's with Salisbury Reserves, but even that was sort of the Salisbury Reserves was sort of kids. So yeah, it was literally straight into Andover and proper real men's football. And I won't lie, I noticed the difference. It was more physical, and you know, I was sort of a young, naive player, quite quick and good with my feet. And if I went past someone, I'd just get a kick. So I had to adapt quickly, but I was lucky enough that I was playing in a team of experienced players that had been around, and therefore they looked after me and helped me. So very, very grateful to them for that. But yeah, it was a baptism of fire, and I had to sort of adapt quickly.
Yeah, because you definitely did adapt quickly. Because your first couple seasons with Andover, I must say they were brilliant. Because you were just getting goals like non-stop, and then this goals was actually leading to interest from other teams. So I think, did you get a hat trick against Basingstoke? Because I think this was a game that really made you.
It was, yeah. So yeah, we had it was kind of a new makeshift team that year with Andover, and we were doing okay in the Wessex League, but we had a really good Hampshire Cup run. Then we got to the semis. It was a two-legged semi. I think Basingstoke at the time were obviously, I think, equivalent of Conference South. First leg was at home. I think we lost the game 4-3, but I scored a hat trick. And there was actually a Portsmouth scout watching the game. And I remember I went to work the next day, and then my dad phoned me at work, and he said, "Oh, you need to come home." I was like, "Why?" He said, "Because there's a Portsmouth scout wants to talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, you know, he's like, "No, I'm serious." My dad's a bit of a joker, so I was like, I wasn't having it. So he was like, "No, I promise you, you need to come. Like, speak to your boss. You need to come home." And I was like, "Okay." So I spoke to my boss. It was only like an hour to go. So I went home. Lo and behold, this guy phones me and says, "Saw you play last night. Thought you were really good. Spoke to the club. We want to invite you in for a week's trial if you're keen for it." And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So we went and trained with Portsmouth for a week. So yeah, and that I say it was the making of me. I think from that point on, I was getting contacted by other local clubs. What are you doing next season? Would you be interested? And yeah, and actually, it was the first time I probably believed that I could play maybe higher.
Yeah, because I was going to get onto that as well. Because with non-league, you can't really take it too professionally unless you do work your way up the leagues. So at this point, were you actually thinking maybe I can get a career out of this? Or like I said, you would have been 19 at the time as well. So
Yeah,
did you already have a job at the time?
I was working, just a sort of administration job in sort of for a finance company, which is actually the area I've stayed in throughout, and I've made a career out of that. But no, I didn't at all. It was all new to me. I'd only ever sort of kicked about my mates. I'd never played for a pro club. I've never done proper training or coaching, and so I'd never ever imagined that I could earn a decent level of money from it, or even try and go full time. But I say that Basingstoke game was the first time that I thought to myself, okay, I'm playing against very good players here, and I've kind of made them look ordinary and scored. I probably could have scored a few more in that game. But yeah, I say that's the first time I probably thought to myself, okay, maybe there is a future. I don't know what it looks like, but maybe there is a future for me in football.
And the also crazy thing is, Pompey at the time, I think they were in the Premier League. They were
No,
managed
so
by Harry.
that was the season that they were Championship, but they
Oh,
got promoted to the Premier League that season. So I went training for the week, and all of a sudden I'm in this environment training with people that I'm used to watching on TV every week, like Tim Sherwood, Steve Stone,
was
Shaka
Paul
Hislop in
Merson there?
goal. Sorry, who was that, James?
Paul Merson, I think he
Paul
could have been there.
Merson. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was just a bit starstruck, and for a young 19, 20-year-old lad who hadn't been in that environment, I was probably a bit within myself. I felt a bit out of my depth. But actually, as soon as you got into training and football, it was like that was gone, and I did really well. they actually invited me back to play in some sort of like under 23 games and stuff
Wow.
to see how I got on. But there was a bit of, so obviously I was still an Andover player and I was contracted, and the manager at the time had a couple of important games to try and sort of get us over the line towards the end of the season, and he kind of said no for me playing in those games, and he said, you know, if they want you back, they'll come pre-season and you can go and train pre-season. But obviously we all know what happened. They got promoted, went to the Premier League, and therefore, yeah, my chance there had probably gone. I should have played in those games, and if I'd have done well, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, because obviously, like you said, you did stay with Andover, and I think the following season you had a really good campaign as well. You got quite a few more goals. I think it was something like 48 goals in 30 games, or something unreal like that. But looking back
Yeah,
now, did you wish you would have taken this Pompey role? Because I think you could have probably made it as well.
yeah, I think obviously at the time I say, and I trusted my manager at the time, and he said to me, he'd been a pro footballer himself, and he said, I know how it works. If they're that interested, they'll come back. And I was like, okay, so I put my faith in him. But actually now that I look back on it, I probably should have been a bit firmer and said, no, I want to go and play. But I didn't know any different. I was a young 19, 20-year-old lad, and I was naive and trusted people that maybe I shouldn't have done. But actually, I could look at it as a regret. But then the things that followed, I can't complain. So
Yeah, because we'll get onto that a bit later. Because
yeah.
honestly, what comes later, yeah, you'll have to watch it. But I think after? Yeah, I think Eastleigh came after. Yeah, Eastleigh, sorry. But yeah, so you made the move to Eastleigh, and I think they would have been a couple tiers up. But how did you find moving to Eastleigh? Because obviously this would have been a more professional team as well.
Yeah, so I ended up obviously staying at Andover for 4 years, so I never moved on. But in my last season, which was the best season I had at Andover, so I think I got something like 63 goals in 34
Yeah,
games or something. But towards the back end of that year, I got a bad knee injury, so I missed the last month of the season, and at the point, we had club physios, but they all thought that it was just kind of a tweak, and therefore my season was done. But I have the summer off, and I'll be fine. So obviously, because I had a very good season, I was attracting a fair bit of interest. And I spoke to a few clubs, but yeah, Eastleigh came in and basically said to Andover, we'll pay him out of the contract. So I went to Eastleigh, spoke to them, liked it, decided I want to sign. They obviously knew about my knee injury, and they said, we're going to send you for a checkup. They got me in for a scan straight away, and at that point we realised I'd done my cruciate ligament, my anterior cruciate ligament. So it meant surgery, and then 9-month rehab. So the first year that I was at Eastleigh, I didn't even play. I was just
wow.
injured. But they looked after me. They got me my surgery. They done all my rehab with the physio. So they really looked after me. But in that period, the manager that signed me left the club. So then by the time I was fit and I came back, it was a new manager. And I didn't really. I featured in pre-season, did okay, but I guess he had his own, ideas of doing things. And here's a player that's never played at that level, come back after a serious knee injury, and he said, need you to go out and get fit. I don't think you're the same player that you were before you had the injury, which hurt me. But again, he has since messaged me after I went on to do the things I did, to say that's why I'm not in management anymore, because I clearly didn't know what I was talking about at the time. But credits him for doing that.
Yeah, because obviously injuries are quite a big game of football. So, like, I think it was Hector Bellerin at Arsenal, if you remember, but he suffered a very serious injury with Arsenal, and I think it ruled him out for a couple seasons. But
Yeah.
I think people don't really realise it's not just a physical side, is it? It's also the mental side. So, when you were out with a season with Eastleigh, did you kind of, I don't know, struggle with your mental health a bit because you weren't getting game time?
I mean, at the time, I don't think I did, but actually, when I look back, probably did. So it was tough because I'm this young lad in a team full of lads that have played Conference South football pretty much all their life, if not higher. I could tell they were like strong, physical, athletic people, and I was a young, skinny lad, and I felt like I wasn't able to show them what I've got. So I was in and around the team, but I never really felt part of it because I'd never played with any of them or really knew any of them. So it was tough, and I was turning up to games just to watch, and I was desperate to get out there and play. So yeah, I look back and it was hard, and actually Eastleigh had quite a tough season that year. I think they ended up staying up by the skin of their teeth, and there was talk that injured players being in and around it were affecting the players' concentration, and therefore we were to blame a little bit. And there were times where we got told not to come to games and stuff. So again, it was all, I look back on it, and yeah, I probably did suffer mentally from it.
Yeah, because after Eastleigh, I'm not sure, did you have a club to go to or any kind of backup plan?
No, so that's obviously how Gosport came about.
Yeah.
So yeah, the start of the second season, I played pre-season, and then I was in and out. I was in the reserves and kind of on the bench for the first team, but never really getting a chance. And then the manager at the time, he pulled me after one training session, and that's when he said, I don't think you're the player you were. You need to go out and get game time, proper game time. We want you to go to Gosport. And I was like, I hated Gosport because I played against them for years when I was at Andover, and I just never. They were never good games. And in my head, I was just like, I don't want to go Gosport. Like, I live in Salisbury. Gosport's miles away. I don't want to go there. And he was like, well, we've already spoken to them. There's pretty much a deal done. And I was like, well, can I speak to clubs myself? And he said, you can, but it's not going to. Decisions made. So I went and spoke to a couple of clubs. Thatcham was one that I was close to going to. But yeah, EC put their foot down and said, it's Gosport or nothing. So I was like, okay. So then Alex Pike came and met me in Salisbury. And actually after that meeting with Alex, I was like, okay, this could work. And yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely the right move in the end. But really, what was it that decided? What was it that made you decide you wanted to come to Gosport?
It was that. So it was that meeting with Alex. Before that, I hated the club. Whenever I played there, I'd never had good experience. The fans were quite aggressive, and we were always kind of get in, get out. Don't want to hang around at Gosport too long. So that was kind of my perception of the club. But yeah, Alex came. The fact that he drove all the way down to Salisbury and met me showed that he was obviously keen. And then he just talked about what he was trying to do at Gosport. They'd obviously just got promoted up to Southern League. So he was saying to me, he painted the picture to me. You're still the Justin Bennett that you were at Andover. You just need somewhere to show it. We're going to give you that opportunity. We want to push the club forward, and you'll be at the heart of it. And for me, I was like, okay, let's go for it. I fully bought into it.
Yeah, because I think this was the season really where they started to kind of step up, wasn't it, Gosport? They started improving massively. Because I think you yourself, you got 28 goals in your first season, which was really good considering it was your first season back, really.
Yeah,
But
so
would you
I
say
joined in the October. So I think it was October when I joined, and by the end of the season, I'd won the Golden Boot for the league. So
exactly? Yeah. I think Alex Pike, he did kind of help Gosport transform, and you were a big part of this transformation as well. I'd kind of consider this Gosport's golden age, really. But would you say you helped transform the club as well?
Not personally, I wouldn't take any credit for it. Obviously it was Alex, Alex built it. And he always got the right people around him to help him build it. I came in, loved that first season. We didn't really achieve anything as a club. But it was great to get back playing and scoring goals and get the love for football back again. And then the second season, we did the same again, and then the third season. But it did get to a point where it was where we go in, and then there were other local clubs having a bit of success, Tottenham and Poole and play, clubs like that. And I was very proud to be winning Golden Boots, but at the same time, I was a bit like, I want to win something, I want to achieve something. And there were a couple of times, and I've not hidden this in the past, where I did say to Pikey, I think I want to leave because I want to achieve success. But Pikey every time said to me, he said, stick with me. I'm building something. I will get you success. And every time he talked me round, and yeah, so yeah, I'll be forever grateful to him that he managed to do that.
Well, I think it was 2011 where they got the playoffs, and this was really the season where they started to, taking it up a bit. And I think you Jolin, and I believe you got the winner. So can you tell me a bit about that semi-final?
Yeah, that's going to live long in the memory. Yeah, so I think sort of take it back a bit. It was probably a couple of years before that where I had that conversation with Pikey. And then, to be fair, from that point, the team kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And even I could sense that something was building. And then, yeah, that season, I think we got the few signings we needed. Had a really good season, got to the playoffs, and then home game against Sholin, who again we always had good battles with. They were a big, strong, physical side, and actually they were probably on top in that game without any clear-cut chances, but the game was sort of probably edging towards them until they got a man sent off. So Lewis Fenimore. Don't know what went through his head, but I remember him just going in reckless challenge on Dan Wooden, and then straight red card, no argument whatsoever. And then the game swung in our favour. It was quite a 0-0 type game. And then nothing. The ball just looped up, and I don't even know why I thought about doing it, but I did an overhead kick, and I don't even, to this day I don't know how it went in because I didn't see it. But from what I gather, it flew in the back of the net, and the next week or so after that was just crazy because there's a picture of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't. That's before the days that all the games are filmed. But some photographer got a picture of it, and it's up in my wall upstairs. So.
No, because it was a crazy goal. Because I remember going to the game and actually seeing it live. You should have seen the fans. Everyone was just going nuts in the stadium. But would you still say this is your favourite goal out of all of them?
I think favourite out of all of them, just because of the the magnitude of the game and the importance of the game, and the fact that it was a 1-0 winner. But actually, that season away at Bridgewater, I did score a better goal. Again, not filmed, and only the people that were there would ever be able to back me up on it. But it was a big looping cross from Dan Wood, and I just connected with a volley from sort of way out and just flew in the top corner. But I think when you bring in the importance of the game and where it took us, then probably the best goal we ever scored.
Yeah, because like you said before, it was a playoff semi-final. And with playoff semi-finals, do you actually celebrate after the game? I'm guessing you do, but do you kind of try not to fixate on the next game? Or is the momentum already just, we need to get this final done?
Yeah, I mean, the fact it was a Tuesday night probably stopped us going out and getting drunk. True Gosport fashion, if that had been on a Friday or Saturday, I imagine that we'd have been out, and so I remember we did go nuts in the change room afterwards, and definitely celebrations. But I think after that, your attention turns to, okay, we've got the final of the weekend. Let's aim to do the business there. But I think if that game had been on a weekend, all hell would have broken loose, as it did when we beat Paul. The final.
Because it was a good game pool as well. Because I think I've got the highlights somewhere. Because it went to a penalty shootout, and I cannot believe the nerves. Like, I think you took one of the penalties.
The penalty shootout was the next year. Paul went to extra time. So we were 1-0 down. Again, Paul really battered us. Should have beaten us. We weren't really in the game at all. 1-0 down. They had a couple of chances to put the game to bed, didn't take them, and then Steve Claridge come off the bench. And
I think
95th minute or whatever, managed to equalise, and then in extra time there was only 1-2 minute, and I scored, and then he scored again, and and then all hell broke loose.
It must have been a brilliant night. Do you still remember it?
I do. So it was a Monday. It was Bank Holiday Monday. So I had work the next day. But it was all I'd wanted to achieve in football at that point was to do something with my teammates and like enjoy that moment. So we all literally got on the coach back to Gosport, met at the in off the post, and yeah, from what I remember, it was a very good night. And yeah, I remember texting my boss that night saying, I will be in tomorrow, but I don't know what state I'll be in. And he you know, my boss is very cool, and he said, yeah, if you need to come in a bit later, come in a bit later, which I did, and I went in really hungover, but it was all worth it.
Yeah, and then the next season you carried on. But before you did do this next season, was the plan actually to get promotion, or was it more to kind of, I don't know, study on the league, maybe try and get a mid-table finish, or was it actually just to go full guns blazing and get promotion again?
I mean, realistically, I think myself and maybe a lot of the players, there might have been a couple that thought it, but yeah, we were probably thinking, let's just go and establish ourselves in the league. Let's, mid-table, get to grips with it. Pikey was very much, no, we'll go and win that one. Yeah, we'll get promoted again. And I remember him saying that to me, and I kind of laughed, and I was a bit like, we've only just come up for the playoffs here, like, and actually the start of that season didn't work out very well for us. We weren't doing particularly well, and then we just went on some crazy run, of which I missed a bit. So I got married. I got married halfway through that season, so I missed a month and then came back. But Rory Williams and Dan Wooden had taken up the mantle of carrying on scoring goals, and I think we went on a 24 game unbeaten run, which got us into the playoffs in the last day of the season. I remember Rory scoring the goal, going around the keeper, and then we were all stood in the pitch waiting to see whether we got in the playoffs. But when I came back, I picked up an injury, a bad ankle injury, so I really probably shouldn't be playing. But as soon as we got to the playoffs, I was like, to the physio, strap me up, and I had to sit it out on the bench. So I didn't come on in the semi-final, but in the final, came on for, I can't remember who for, but that was the one that obviously went to
Hempstead.
Hempstead, and again, crazy day. We're 2-0 up, coasting, and then conceded 2-2. And then again, extra time. They were the team in ascendancy. I remember Nathan Ashmore pulling off some important saves to keep us in the game, and then penalties, and we kept the cool heads, and Nathan pulled off an important save. And then, Sammy Igo stepped up to score the decisive penalty.
Yeah, because I think you were shooting towards the Gosport fans as well. So I'm guessing that kind of helped as well. But what was it like to take a penalty at that end as well?
Helped massively. Yeah, I can't underestimate the importance of that. They were, Gosport fans alike, booing their lads when they're coming up, but actually, giving us support. So it helped. And certainly, I've never been the best penalty taker, and actually I felt quite calm in that moment. When you think what's at stake, I felt quite calm, because when you looked at the whole stand behind the goal, just full of like Gosport fans cheering you on, I felt confident. Actually, my penalty was the only one that the keeper came close to saving, but luckily enough, I got it far enough in the corner that he didn't. And then I remember we were, when you all stood there with your teammates and got to the fifth penalty, and I knew we had to win, and then sort of thinking, who's taking this? And then Sammy Igo, and I was like, if there's anyone on our team to take this penalty, it's Sammy Igo, because at that point he'd been there and done it. He'd scored at Wembley, and his penalty, I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, but his penalty is
a good penalty.
Just like, it's like he was in his back garden just tucking it away. And pandemonium broke loose again.
I bet it must have been crazy that night, because I think it was Gosport's best ever finish in 40 years, which is mental. It was period for Gosport, and I'm guessing just the parties yet again, they must have been madder, better. Can you tell me about the parties that night as well?
Yeah, well, obviously this time we travelled a bit further away from home because we'd gone to Hemel. It was again another journey back to off the post, and it was pretty much the same again. I don't actually remember. I must have been much drunker that time, because there's not a lot I can remember about that night. I went from a period of a couple of years of not really getting anywhere, and then all of a sudden, everything that Pikey promised was going to happen seemed to be happening, and we're all of a sudden building up momentum. We've got a very good nucleus of players in the team, it was it was, as you mentioned earlier, the golden era of Gosport Borough Football Club, I think.
Well, I don't even think it really stopped there, did it? Because the following season, it was just as insane. Not really with the league so much, but the FA Trophy run was just incredible. Can you tell me a bit about the FA Trophy run?
Yes.
Guys, sorry about that. Just a couple of technical problems, but we got to the FA Vars bit. Justin, do you mind talking us through the FA Vars bit again?
Yeah, so I think I'd got up to the point, hadn't I, where I wasn't having a particularly good season. Pikey had sent me out on loan with the, and he was very open and he said, I want you to go on loan, enjoy football, score some goals, come back with some confidence. And yeah, the trophy run continued. And then he got to semi-finals. I wanted to be part of it, but I hadn't really had much game time at Poole because the weather had been pretty bad and games had been called off. So I stayed for a few more games, did really well, scored quite a few goals at Poole. The pressure was off again. It was just playing football. And then obviously, so I missed out on the crazy scenes of the semi-final. But obviously, I'd spoken to Pike before that. Pike said, if we get to the final, I promise you I'll recall you from Poole and you'll be part of it. Like, you've been a massive part of the club up until this point. That's you deserve that. So I had to place my trust in him because I was due to be on loan at Poole for longer. And he was true to his word. So they made it to the final. I remember we had a game on the Tuesday night for Poole against Tottenham, and I scored 2-1, 2-0. And then he texted me after that game saying, we're calling you back because we need you for a game at Maidenhead on Thursday. So I was like, okay, thinking I'm going to go back and be on the bench. And then, left Poole on the Tuesday, played Maidenhead on the Thursday night away. And scored 2 goals and we won 2-1, I think. So scored both goals. And then that left me 1 goal short of the all-time goal scorer record. So the Saturday was Boreham Wood at home. People were saying to me, do you want to break the record today or do you want to do it next week when you're playing at Wembley? And I just said, I'd like to get it done as quickly as possible. And again, scored another 2 that day. So I played 3 games in 5 days and scored 6 goals. But that was a crazy day. Beat the record that had stood for a long time. Felt very proud to do it. And then that was all of a sudden I was full of confidence and thought I can play at this level of football. And then we went off to Wembley. And great day out.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what was it like getting that goal record? Because it still hasn't been beaten today. So you're still Gosport's all-time top goal scorer.
Yeah, no, I'm somebody who likes to have achieved stuff in football. And certainly the closer I got to it, I was very much, I want to beat that, and I want it to be a long-standing record, and I hope it will be. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see somebody come to Gosport and be successful and do well. But actually, the tally that I've left, I think, will be a tough tally to beat. Just because I was there 9 years and scoring goals at a good rate, so it's going to take somebody to stay there for a long period and score goals at a consistent rate. But that day was amazing. I remember so the Boreham Wood manager now, Luke Garrard, he's the one that I kind of put on his bum to score the goal that got me the record. But I remember just sort of peeling off, and Jamie Brown just played an amazing ball over the top. I got at the end of it, turned in, and it was all quite surreal. And the lads were brilliant. Everyone was behind me and supporting me, and I'm very proud that I'm in the history books there.
Yeah, because it was a great couple of weeks, like you said. And then you got to Wembley. And then this game at Wembley, it was massive. Because I think it was being broadcasted by BT Sports as well. So it was a big game. But really, how do you prepare yourself for a game at Wembley? Because I know quite a few players, I think they do acting lessons or something like that to prepare for it. I'm not sure if you did anything like that, but...
No, we didn't do any acting lessons. So we did prepare really well. So the club arranged for us to stay in a hotel, I think a couple of nights before the game. So I think we might have gone down on the Thursday or the Friday. And then and then we used Reading's training ground. So we were training every day on the lead up to the final, staying in hotel together, which is, I guess, what pro footballers do and stuff. So for a few days we lived that life. And then, it was all, everyone was nervous about the game on the Sunday, and also everyone was, wondering whether or not they were going to play, because we had a squad of 18, maybe 20, I don't know, and only 11 starts. So everyone wanted to be in that starting 11. And I remember on the morning of the game, we had the team meeting where the team got announced. And like I say, I think I only got the nod because of the week I'd had leading up to it, where I'd broken the record and I'd scored a few goals. So I kind of hit form at the right time. But it meant some of my teammates who are close friends, were the unfortunate ones that sat on the bench. And I don't overlook how lucky I was that I was the one that was in the starting 11, because it could have been any one of us. And it's a memory that I'm always going to have, that I played at Wembley. I know the result wasn't the best, but again, a lot of non-league footballers, even pro footballers, never get the chance to play at Wembley. So I'll be forever grateful to everyone at the club, and that we all had that opportunity.
Yeah, because I think after this final as well, it was really time for you to say bye to Gosport, because I think it was this season, was it, that you left Gosport?
No, so stayed couple more years. So really, that after that trophy final, we kind of kicked on and established ourselves as a Conference South club. And the next few years that followed, we were kind of teetering with making the playoffs. I think one year we even missed out on goal difference.
Really? Wow.
But playing at that level of football doesn't come cheap. Players are more expensive and demand more wages. And if you want to progress, you've got to, I guess, try and pay the wages. But then there's all other expenses as well in terms of playing at that level. And I think it kind of became a bit unsustainable for the club. And things did kind of turn a little bit sour. Ashmore left, a few other players left, and there was stuff going on with sort of money, and therefore it didn't be, the wheels started to fall off a little bit. And at that point I was sort of, actually after that we still had the first round proper against Colchester, which again was another momentous sort of day for the club. But after that it all started to sort of go downhill. And again, I look back and probably myself didn't handle it as well as I should have done, but I'm older and wiser now and I can see that. But I look back with nothing but fond memories of my time at Gosport, not just because what we achieved as a football club, but the group of players we had. We were a real close-knit bunch, and I've played for clubs since and not had that same feeling that we all had at Gosport. We're all still in a group chat now. We're all still mates today. So it was special. It was a special group, and got friends there that are considered friends for life.
So did you find it quite hard when you did have to say goodbye to Gosport?
Yeah. So when I did, I won't go into details, but it wasn't. I didn't leave on very good terms. Again, I look back and probably didn't handle it as well as I should have done. I was probably not as mature as I should have been. And it was hard. It was hard because the fans were brilliant. I had a really good rapport with the fans. Again, still do now. Still chat to some now. I've only been back once since I left, which was back in the last season. And again, as soon as I walked in, all the fans that I knew, welcomed me with open arms. So I do want to get back there more this year. But I was. It was tough. It was. I felt it was the right thing to do. So I still agree with that. It was the right time to leave. But I think I could have done it in a better way, as could have the club. I think none of us sort of held ourselves in any glory at that moment.
Yeah, because I think this was the time. Did you join Salisbury after this?
Yeah, so after that, I was close to joining Havant, funnily enough. And I think had Havant not gone into the Isthmian League then, I probably would have gone to Havant. But where I was living in Salisbury, it had just been so much travel for me. And at this point, my work, I was getting a bit, my work was becoming a bit more important. So yeah, Salisbury is my hometown club. obviously Steve Claridge, who I knew. So yeah, I went there. And again, yeah, loved it there. But come the end of the season, football's a funny game, and things didn't work out how I expected them to.
Yeah, because I think with Salisbury, was it where you had Tommy Wright with you? Because I
Yeah.
just remember you and Tommy Wright being phenomenal. I think you got like 40 goals in, was it 38 games? But I just remember you two being absolutely incredible, and all the
Yeah.
newspapers writing about you two as well.
Yeah, so I think I finished the season with 44, and again I missed the last month I think with a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
Tommy went on to score 50 odd, so between us we had like nearly 100 goals.
yeah.
But yeah, and it got to the end of the season, and Claridge manages the way he manages, and didn't see, yeah, I guess he didn't want to keep me for whatever reason, and yeah, so I remember I got an offer to go to Oxford City, which was back in the Conference South. And I thought to myself, it's going to be my last chance at my age. I think I was like 34 at the time. My last chance to play at that level. So let's give it a go. And again, didn't work out for me because I ruptured my other ACL in pre-season. So I didn't even feature for Oxford that year. But it was again another operation, another year of rehab. And then at that point, I just wanted to play football to enjoy it, and didn't really matter where it was. So I went to Tottenham for a year with Wildy. So Adam Wild was the assistant and Louis Langdown manager. And again, they're two good guys. They had a young team. I found it quite hard there because again I was a bit older and more mature, and I think at that point I was searching for what we had at Gosport, and because it wasn't what we had at Gosport, I struggled a bit. So I had 1 year there, and then finished my career at Bennett and Heath,
Yeah.
which they have a good time.
Well, I was about to say that you didn't do too bad with Bremerton either, because what a way to finish your career. Because I think you got a couple promotions. You ended up getting 129 goals in 114 games, which is incredible at that age as well. Because you mentioned the injuries. But one question I do have, you did mention enjoying football quite a bit. How important is it that you're actually enjoying your football, and how big of an impact does this actually have on your game?
It's massive. I think if you're enjoying your football, then you're confident. You don't think about things. You don't overthink things. You just do things naturally. I think when you're not enjoying it, you're trying to think about things you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then you're never going to get the best out of yourself. So I think again, as an older person who's now not playing and looking back, I can't stress the importance of enjoying football
So,
enough.
oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and young lads that I speak to now that sort of might come to me for advice, when they're saying, I want to be in that team, but I don't really enjoy it. I'm like, well, you're better off leaving and playing somewhere where you're playing and you're enjoying it, because you will start getting the best out of yourself, and then options open up for you.
So, in some sorts of weird way, do you think non-league was actually better fitted for you? Because you were enjoying your football while still having a full-time job. But if you would have moved to, like, I don't know, a League Two team, perhaps, you were doing it more professionally and therefore not enjoying the football. So maybe not worked as well with you.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough that I can look back on that and say I'm glad that I didn't make it pro, because I don't know what route going pro would have taken me, but I know that I had a very good career in non-league, and I got a lot of personal accolades. I've done I won a lot of stuff with teams. Obviously got to play at Wembley, got to play in the first round of the FA Cup. I might not have done those things if I went pro. You say I might not have enjoyed it. It might not have been the right environment for me. But then on the flip side, there's always that, what if I'd have gone? And you have to look at players like Charlie Austin. They made the step
Yeah.
up and it kicked off for them, and they went and made a career out of it. It might have happened for me, I don't know. But I have no regrets that what I achieved in my non-league career. A lot of players aren't as fortunate, and it certainly wasn't down to hard work in the early years, because I think where I didn't come up through that kind of academy system, I wasn't the best trainer. I wasn't the best in, when we were listening to coaches and stuff. It wasn't until I was a bit older and mature that I realised, actually, if I take this a bit more seriously, I can achieve things. Whereas if I'd have had that attitude early 20s, who knows what might have happened. But again, I was lucky enough that I played around players that made me realise that, you know, people like Matt Patterson, who came from pro football. He was younger than me, but actually in football maturity, he made me realise that I was a bit of an idiot. People like Jamie Brown, Danny Smith, Brett Poe, you know, all those players that were a bit more experienced really brought me back down to earth.
Yeah, and then after 667 goals, it was time for you to hang up your boots. Was this quite a hard decision for you? Because I know a lot of, quite a few really footballers, both non-league and pro league, they say retiring is a very hard decision because they don't know what to do after football. It's been their life for so many years. So was it quite hard for you to like pick the decision?
No, not really. So I was 39 when literally actually just shy of 40. So and that last season, I remember sort of going to a few away games on a Tuesday night, and it was like freezing cold or down with rain. And I do remember just sort of sitting there thinking, why am I still here? I had a young daughter, so Chloe, and then my wife was pregnant with the second, so I had another baby on the way, and I was just like, I thought to myself, this is the right time. I could also feel that I wasn't didn't feel like I was playing to the level that I was capable of, and not because I didn't want to in my head, but my body wasn't allowing it. So no, it was the right time.
Yeah, and like you said, you had an amazing career. And then looking back at it, what would you pick out as your most favourite memory in the whole of your football career?
People, I do get asked this question quite often. It's tough. I mean, obviously Wembley. I know we didn't get the result, but that whole experience of playing there, and not even the playing on Wembley, but actually I remember after the game when, you know, we'd lost and we were clapping the fans, and there's, you know, thousands of people in yellow Gosport shirts just, and you know, they're shouting over well done, and it was actually quite emotionally overwhelming. So that will always stick in my mind. The two playoff final wins, and the you know, the camaraderie you have with your teammates and the celebrations you have, they're the moments that, now I'm retired and you look back, they're the moments that are the only important things in football. You know, doing those things with teammates that you get on so well with.
Yeah, well, we've looked at the past, we've looked at the present, and I think it's time to look at the future now. Could you actually ever see yourself returning to football, maybe like in a management role, or maybe even commentary perhaps in the future?
Yeah, so coaching and management doesn't interest me. I've kind of tried to force myself to do it, and I just don't. It doesn't interest me at all. I love football, so I want to try and find something that keeps me involved. At the moment, I just don't know what that looks like, and I'm particularly busy with work and obviously raising a couple of young kids at the moment. So time to be involved is short, but yeah, I want to be involved somewhere somehow. I say whether it's commentary, I'll come and join you in the commentary box, or wherever it may be. But yeah, I'd like to do something at some point.
Well, Justin, you're welcome back anytime at Privett Park. It'd be an absolute pleasure to have you on the commentary at any point. But do you have any final words for the Gosport fans, or actually any fans listening?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you for all the support I was given when I was at Gosport. I will be there a few times this year. I'll be bringing my daughter and telling her that, you know, this is where Daddy used to play football. And look forward to having a beer in the bar. But yeah, they were great years, and yeah, even to this day, me and my wife talk fondly about the time there. You know, she used to come to all the games, and you know, she used to love the atmosphere there. So yeah, just thank you for being very supportive.
Well, Justin, it's been a great episode and it's been fantastic to interview you, really. But Gosport fans, make sure to come back for episode 2 and final words up the borough.
Up the borough.